Hello, everyone. I hope you all had a great day. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining us in this little admission webinar. Um, so, I hope you can all see my screen. Very important, before we start, just to make sure if you have any questions, please use the Q&A box, not the chat box. Otherwise, we won't be able to see your questions. You can ask questions throughout the presentation, but we will answer them towards the end. We will try and answer as many questions as possible. If we missed a couple, you can always email us on the admissions email. All right, so the webinar is about insider tips for the EHL admissions. We will talk about the admissions process, as well as the several steps to follow and the documents you need to prepare. Before we start, we're quickly going to start with some presentations. So my name is Nina. I'm part of the admissions team here at EHL. I'm also EHL alumna. And I'm here today with Montana.
Hello everyone, my name is Montana. I'm currently a student in my BOSC 5 semester, meaning in my final year. And I'm also an ambassador, and that's why I'm here, and we're going to talk a bit more about it later on. And yes, let's get started. All right, so we have a few steps about our admission process. So the first one would be that do your research. What that really means is you should know what you're getting into, and most importantly, also know the depth of what you're getting into, because there's so many different activities and everything that englobes and what it really means to be at EHL. Would it be open day? Would it be career fair? All things that you'll learn when you do your research, so you really know what you're getting into. And then number two would be to try to get professional experience. It's not always possible to do internships depending on where you're from, but you could also just volunteering or anything else, anything where you could get some experience and just some life and experience, work experience. Number three is show your personality, especially in your essay. Don't write what you think we want to hear, because what we really want is to hear about you and your personality. You could talk about your love for hospitality or about EHL. And basically, your essay is a jumping pad for the interview, and we'll ask questions based on your essay. So if you really show your personality, it'll also be much more fun to answer the questions during the interview process. Number four, really important, is own your applications. You should manage and look after it yourself, not necessarily your parents. And this is really like a tryout for your EHL student life, where you'll have to own and manage your own classes as well. And number five, really important here in Switzerland, would be to respect the deadlines. Following deadlines is an important skill. Swiss are known to be very punctual, so everything that is sent in after the deadlines, unfortunately, we can't do a lot when it is too late. This also plays into our sixth point, which would be to be professional and respect the dress code. When you do your research, you might fall on a very name that falls a lot. It's Monsieur Laurent. And he has a motto that englobes very well what it means to be professional, respect the dress code, is you never get a second chance to make a great first impression. And the interview as well is our first glimpse of you. It's a little window into yourself, and it's your chance to make your first impression towards EHL and towards us. What that really could mean for the interview is look at the background of your video, if there's like maybe a mess or anything, be punctual, and also respect the dress code already in your interview, kind of like a dry run for when you're students. Afterwards, number seven would be know your values. Make sure your values fit with EHL's values in the university, because you will be part of the multicultural landscape that makes up this university. And lastly, be proactive. during the interview or also during the whole process, you can ask for advice or ask questions. There's so much to discover, and when you think you have learned everything, there's going to be so much more that you can learn about. All right, a bit more into detail into do some research. Why exactly I would tell you to do the most research possible is because EHL is super rich. And there's so many things to do that Dev already talked of before. And research helps you maybe set a plan or make most of these 3 to 4 years studying here, because there's so much that you can't do everything. And maybe you'll discover some new skills, some new hobbies, some new experiences. What exactly there is at EHL, there's the student life with all the comités, with all the events, and there's multiple ones at different times of the semesters. There's also the curriculum, there's the different sections, French or English. There's also a possible exchange program in BOSC 3, all things that are super interesting to get to know more about before, so you can organize it accordingly. All the different internships. There's 2 internships during the EHL studies. Personally, I did them in Barcelona and in Amsterdam. You can really go wherever you want. I've had friends that went all over into Americas and Asia, even as far as Australia. So it's really an opportunity for you to go and also get some more work experience. Work opportunities in school, kind of like what I'm doing right now. There's like a lot of different things you could do. Entrepreneurship, and also, of course, the alumni network, like Nina, that is part of the alumni as well. There's much, much, much to be discovered. I already touched up on the interview. So exactly, the interview is 30 minutes with a member of the staff and a student ambassador, a student that is currently studying, and then together we can talk with you and get to know you from the side of the admissions and also from the side of the students that are currently there. Really, again, the main goal is to get to know you personally and really who you are, what you already did, what you learned. You are more than welcome to share situation or memories that showcase your skills. If you think something could be important, feel free to put it in your answer. And you can elaborate with examples, ask questions. We're also here to respond to everything. Lastly, how to write a good essay. The main point of the essay is touched on. Oh, right. Just a second. Take the little few minutes to maybe think of some questions. Awesome, perfect. Should be all good. So about the essay, just as a recap.
Unfortunately, we can you hear us? Yes. All right. Sorry, we were having a bit of technical issues here. The Zoom is not responding very well. All right. So sorry about that. If you have any questions, again, we'll take some more time to look at the questions because obviously maybe you missed a couple of informations. But the most important are coming now, which is the application process. So we'll just so much. All right. Sorry. So the application process. So there we go. It's a three-step process, starting with the first step, which is the online application. And then the second step, which will be the online interview and the aptitude test. And the third step, which is the final interview. So we'll go a little bit more into details because I'm sure you have some questions regarding the three steps. So starting off with the online application. So here you will have to submit a couple of documents, starting with the creation of your account on the EHL website, where you will have to upload an essay of about 500 to 600 words. You have 3 topics to choose from that you can find on the EHL website. Very important. Then, of course, you will have to upload your transcripts of the last 3 years of secondary education. Even if you've already graduated, we need those transcripts. If you have already graduated, you can also include your final diploma. And then lastly, an English proficiency test. This depends a little bit on your diploma, whether you have followed a bilingual exam or if you have already completed a test, we will ask you to upload that on your application. But we will discuss this a bit later in the presentation. And then you will have your, of course, to pay the application fee of 220 to open up the application. So once these documents have been validated, you will move on basically to the second step, which is the online interview and the aptitude test. So the online interview is a pre-recorded interview where you will basically be filmed. You will have a couple of questions popping on the screen, and your response to the questions will be recorded. It's about 2 minutes of recording. So you really have the time to develop and answer the different questions. And then once you're done with that interview, you can move on to the aptitude test. It's a small test, about 30 minutes long, with logic, quantitative, and behavior-based questions. It's nothing you can really prepare for. I would just suggest, to be, of course, in an environment where it's calm, you have a stable connection for both of these assessments, just to make sure you don't have technical issues. And lastly, the third step, which is the final interview. This time is an online face-to-face interview with a member of the staff and a student ambassador. Basically, the best advice I can give you for this is to be yourself, come prepared. As Montana mentioned earlier in the presentation, you should do your research, you should be professional, on time. All these things are valid for the interview. So that's about it. And once you have done the interview, a couple of weeks later, you receive your final decision.
Awesome, perfect. So a little bit of more information about the deadline. So the first thing is that it's on a first come, first served basis, but we do have some deadlines. Just to note is that deadlines are different and a bit shorter for students that need a visa to come here to Switzerland. The deadline for the September 2026 intake for visa students would be the 31st of May 2026, so in a little bit. And for people that do not need a visa, it would be the 15th of June 2026. For the February 27 intake, for the visa students, the deadline is the 31st of October 2026, and for the other, it would be the 15th of December 2026.
Thank you, Montana. I'm really sorry my camera doesn't work. We're having a little bit technical issues here, so it's a bit awkward because you can hear me but not see me, but I hope my voice is loud and clear. All right, so moving on to the admissions requirements. Here you probably have a couple of questions. So I will start first with our main diplomas, starting with the Suisse Maturité. So we accept all maturités, gymnasiale, professionnelle, and spécialisée, sorry. And then for the French bac, a little bit more details. So first of all, you need to have at least 12 out of 20. You need to have at least 2 years of math as a spécialité in première and terminale. In terminale, we can accept the math complémentaire. And then you also need 2 years of science, either SVT or physique chimie. Same thing as math, either in première and terminale. In the case you haven't taken SVT or physique chimie, you can do them through the CNED as a cours à la carte libre, it's called, and you can do that on the side of your studies, but this is only valid for SVT and physique chimie. Math has to be part of your curriculum in your high school. And for the bac STMG, STHR, very simple, you just need a minimum of 12 out of 20. Now, for the IB diploma, so you need to have the full IB diploma with a minimum of 28 out of 42. Why do we say out of 42? That is because we do not accept bonus points anymore. We also have a strong preference for students who have 30 out of 42. So these students will be prioritized. And then we also ask that you have 3 higher level subjects, and one of those has to be in either business, economics, natural science, math, and we accept both streams, math standard level or higher level. So no preference there. And we strongly encourage also a higher level language, but again, not mandatory. And then for the A levels, we require a minimum of BC in your 3 A levels. And one of those should include a science subject, either math, further math, chemistry, biology, physics, business, or economics. Feel free to also take pictures of your diploma, of the PowerPoint, as it may be a little bit tricky to remember all of this. And then lastly, the American High School diploma. So we look at a weighted GPA of 3.2. We also require one external test. So you can choose between SAT, ACT, or CLT. With the minimum scores to meet. And if you haven't taken math in the last 3 years, so you need to have 3 years of math in the last 3 years. If that's not the case, we will also ask for a minimum grade in one of those external tests in math. And then looking at the English requirements, so I quickly touched upon it a bit earlier. So basically, if you haven't followed a bilingual English diploma or just an English school, you will have to take one of these tests. So we accept online tests as well. So you, for example, have the Duolingo, the TOEFL Essentials, the Cambridge, which is not online. We accept Cambridge Advanced, but also Cambridge First certificate. And as you can see, we exempt so full IB diploma, bilingual maturité, for the French one, the OIB and BFI, the European bac, A levels if you've had them in English. Then also the admission officer can basically also evaluate your English. So even though you might have a bilingual diploma, if the admission officer feels like you may need a bit of improvement, we can also ask you for an external test. So don't be surprised if that's the case. That will be your admission officer basically assessing your English. All right.
All right, perfect. For some questions that we got.
All right. Let me see.
We have one question asking again how long the essay should be.
So the essay should be around 500 to 600 words. Please try and stay in that range. Don't go above, don't go below.
Perfect. All right. Then there's also a question if they're turning 18 on the 25th of February 2027, when can they join EHL? In February or in September?
So basically the rule is so you can be below 18 on the intro week and the following Wednesday. After that, you will have to, if you haven't turned 18 by then, you will be deferred automatically to September. You can, when you apply, in any case, your admission officer will review your birthday and will let you know whether you have to apply for September or not. So that's about it.
Perfect. Awesome. Some are asking the academic requirements for some other diplomas, notably the Indian diploma or the Mexican high school diploma.
So for Indian, Mexican, other diplomas, of course, we will review them. It's a little bit case by case. We have to go a little bit more into details. What I can suggest is that you basically apply, you put as many transcripts and documents as you can, as complete as possible, and then you will get your admission officer who will then be able to tell you whether you're eligible or not. Try to apply as early as possible just to make sure you have an early answer regarding whether you're eligible or not.
Awesome. All right. So again, about the aptitude test, it's if it's an online test on the computer or is it question-based pre-recorded? Maybe they did not hear us at the moment.
So the aptitude test, it's all online. So basically, you're not filmed for the aptitude test, but then for the online interview, this one is filmed. It's all online. It's not facing anybody. So you will have a few questions popping on the screen, and you're basically recorded while you answer those questions.
All right. And then we have a little bit of questions. It keeps jumping a little bit because there's a lot coming in. Just a second. All right, the score needed for a Cambridge exam.
So it depends a little bit whether you're going into the English or French section. You can find on the website when you go under our admissions requirements the whole detail. Basically, depending on the scores you have, you may have to follow English advancement classes in AP or maybe not. Basically, if you have a Cambridge C1 with a grade B, you're fine. Anything below may require additional classes or may not be eligible. I encourage you to go on the website and really see the detailed points you need for every single test. You can also compare the tests. Maybe you don't want to do Cambridge, maybe you want to do Duolingo because they're all very different and you might score better in one or the other.
Perfect. We also have a question that we can maybe answer both of us. It is the difference between the February and the September batch. From maybe the admission side and the student side would be nice. Would you like to go ahead, Nina?
So from the admissions side, of course, the volume of students is a little bit different. The September intakes are usually a little bit bigger than the February ones. Essentially, you have also, of course, towards the end, a little bit more competitiveness, let's say, but that is when you apply rather late. Maybe for September, it can be a little bit more competitive than February. But apart from that, there is really no big difference in the February or September intake. There's not an easier intake in that sense. Yeah, that's a little bit on the admission side.
Exactly. I can share a little bit. Me, myself, I've entered in February. And what I can say from what I've seen, it's just the February intake being a bit smaller. You connect with your whole intake much easier. And when you're in the September intake, you have a lot more people, and then you can also meet more people. It's also depending on what you would prefer. So, a question about the open days, more or less. We have the open days. I can talk about it from the part of a student. What the open day is, we really want to showcase what it would mean to be one day here. So maybe you could get an idea about what it means to be studying here, get a feel of the campus, get a feel of also the size and the types of people that are walking around, because there's going to be a mix of staff and admissions officers working as well as students like myself. All right. Someone's also wondering if they didn't have a chance to have work experience by the time they applied, would they have less probability of being accepted?
No, so the work experience is encouraged. It doesn't mean you have to do 3 months or 6 months. Work experience can be 1 week, 2 weeks during the summer. It's just an advantage because during your interview, you also will have examples, things to talk about. You can say, oh, during my internship or during my 1 week, I don't know, working at a bar, this is what happened, and so on. So it's always an advantage for your application. But of course, we understand that some students, they apply, they just turned 18, just finished school and got their diploma. So of course, you don't have much time to get experience. So no, you will not be refused based on work experience. But if you have the opportunity, we do encourage it.
Perfect. There's also someone wondering about the high-level math, business, or econ that it's a difference on what's in the website. Maybe we could go over it again so that they're sure. It says that on the website, it says that you don't need HL math, business, or econ. And then we're wondering what is the official requirements.
Oh, so for math, for the IB, you mean?
Mhm.
So for the IB, we don't have a preference between standard level or higher level, but you have to have math, one or the other. So higher level or standard level. You don't have to have economics either, but it's strongly encouraged because it will obviously help you once you're here at EHL, and we have a preference for student also who may have a little bit more experience in that field.
Thank you, Nina. All right. Some are asking if there's like the online aptitude and the interview, if it's like a set time, or how exactly does it work? Is it like a time slot, or is that a free choice?
So the interview, you will get a time slot. We unfortunately now, as we have many candidates, you usually receive a time slot for in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, just because we have so many applications. But of course, if let's say you're not available, if now you receive, let's say, a slot for June and you're not available in June, we will try and accommodate the best we can. We have an exchange with you as admission officers, so you are able to share with us anything. And if you're not available, or you would like to have your interview at a specific time slot, we'll really do everything we can to accommodate.
Perfect. Another question we would have is if they could see the slides of the presentation anyway, anyhow.
Yes, so the presentation is supposed to be recorded, so you will have access. Now, we had a few technical issues, so again, really sorry about that. So we'll try and have everything available to you so you can review it after the presentation.
A question about the interview language, if it's in French and or in English.
So that again depends on your section. If you applied for the French section, the interview will be in French. If you applied for the English section, the interview will be in English.
All right. A question about the Junior Academy, how beneficial it is in the application. That's also a question we could maybe answer together.
Yeah, you can go for it.
All right. For the Junior Academy, what I think I did it myself back in 2021. And what the Junior Academy helped me is to understand the application process, because we could go through it with a recruitment officer, and also just to see if EHL was the right fit for me, if I could see myself studying here. You discover some of the teachers, some of the people, the campus, and the students. So that would be from my side.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything admissions-wise where it would help?
Of course, if we have you at the Junior Academy, so first of all, you don't have to pay the application fees if you've joined the Junior Academy. It's also a good thing for you, to already discover the campus. You get also, let's say, insider tips. You have a lot of activities that are planned that might be helpful in the future when you apply. And it also, let's say, would validate your wish to join EHL or not. Usually students who join the Junior Academy then are quite convinced and want to join. And let's say if you have a little bit of a doubt, it can be a good opportunity to check out the school and have a feel for yourself. So I would recommend it.
All right. Just a second. A little problem on my Zoom. All right, back at it. All right. I've seen a bit of questions if there was a diploma you prefer between the FAC, EIB, or in general. So does it play with anything?
We don't have a preferred diploma at all. It really depends more on your final score and GPA. And whether you've taken, let's say, for the bac, the spécialité maths, which is very important. So it's a little bit a one-to-one case where we have to review every single diploma and see if you meet the requirements. But no, we don't have a preferred diploma, but we do have preferred GPAs and overall grades.
Someone is wondering if the essay is where the selection is based on for the online test and the online interview, and if those are then also the basis for if they get for the real interview. If there's like.
So the essay is part of the documents that you have to submit in the beginning. Those are the most important documents with your transcripts, of course, your diploma. What we will look at mainly from the essay is your motivation, but then your grades also have to follow, right? So I would say those are the two most important. Once those have been validated, yes, those will be the basis to move on to the next step. And then the second step will validate the final interview.
Someone also has a question about the Essentials program and the advantages it gives.
So the Essential program, so we have several paths. So you can choose math. We have business and hospitality and English. So it depends a little bit if there's a weakness somewhere. For example, let's say your math level is not great, and you would like to before you start EHL, have a bit of a better level and be more confident when you join EHL. This is highly recommended because, of course, the essential math will be taught like EHL math, right? So it might be easier than when you join officially EHL. For the English one, let's say you need to improve a little bit your English before you start EHL to be fully confident. It's also super useful. You also have at the end a little exam that will basically prove that you've improved during that essential program, which is about 11 weeks long. So it really gives you the time to improve. And what's really nice about the Essentials program is that you are on campus, you're already meeting future friends potentially who will start like you in February. Also know that, let's say, if you have somewhere a weakness or something, you will have your admission officer also recommend an essential program if they feel like it's necessary that you improve somewhere. Just please note that if you join the essential program, it doesn't mean that you automatically get accepted for EHL. So those are two separate things.
Perfect. A question about the admission deadline for September 2027 intake.
All right, so we had that on the slide.
No, for the September 2027, not 2026.
Oh, September 2027 deadline. That should be, so we have always the same pattern. Let me rewind the slide. I was right before. So here you can see we always have for September a June final deadline. So likely for September 27, it's also going to be around June. And for February, it's always around December. So likely the next one in 28 will also be around December. So we always follow a little bit the same pattern.
I see a question about a student from Bulgaria about high school, if what SAT scores would be required or recommended.
So the SAT, it's the same. Let's say if you have it depends a little bit on your diploma, right? But I assume you have an American high school diploma. So there we would need an SAT with a score of 1,200. And then depending on whether you have math or not, we may require also a specific score in math.
Awesome. I've also seen quite a few questions about if they do not graduate yet, if they could already start the application process, and if then do you consider predicted or do you wait for the final grades?
So we do consider predicted. If you have them, you can apply with your predicted. You should be in your last year, ideally, or start at least your last year to apply, because you can apply around 1 year in advance to your intake of choice.
Right. Just looking through the questions. Also a question about the IBCP BTech business requirements.
That's a little bit more specific. We do accept BTech and IBCP. In that regards, I would really encourage you to contact a student recruitment advisor as early as possible because our requirements may change, especially for the BTech. because, as you know, there are many different type of BTEC. So we first need to see what BTEC you have, and then also with the IBCP, what you're following, and we'll have to look a little bit more in detail. So there I can't give you an answer right now, but I would recommend already reaching out to a student recruitment advisor and start your application.
And we already replied when would be the deadline for the September 2027 intake. Some of them are wondering if they can already do it now or if it only opens a bit later.
I will open a little bit later. You can check on the website whether you have the opportunity to already open. As I mentioned, now we will usually open only 1 year in advance. This is a recent change. So you might be able to apply still. I don't think so. But you can always check the website whether you have the link basically to apply. And if not, well, you will see it quite quickly. And also your admission officer may tell you whether you can already apply or not.
In the similar vibe, if they want to apply in June, for example, for the September intake, is it sure that there's still going to be open spaces by then?
So I don't recommend applying in June. This is really a final deadline, but of course, with the amount of candidates that apply, you would be, let's say, last in the race. So your chances of getting in September are quite small, and you may be deferred to February by that time. So let's say if now you want to apply for September 26, apply now. I wouldn't recommend waiting any longer.
A question about scholarship and financial aid and if that is filled out simultaneously with the application.
Yes, when you apply, you have an area where you can basically ask for a tuition waiver, and then this will be reviewed. As of February 27, the process will change a little bit where you will have to apply directly through the scholarship website, the foundation website it's called, but we will have this all in place and explained on the website very soon. But for now, the process remains the same. You apply, and you basically, while you apply, you have the opportunity to ask for the tuition waiver.
Another question, if you need a C1 level to do the EHL lessons.
So do you talk about the essential program or?
I think for the bachelor classes and afterwards.
For the bachelor class. So as I mentioned, the Cambridge, we accept also the Cambridge First, which is a B2 level, where you might have to follow then English advancement classes, depending if you're in French or English section. C1 is always preferred, but we do accept the B2 Cambridge First.
Perfect. Does the date given for the online interview and the aptitude test depend on when you send your essay and other documents?
So of course, the quicker you apply, and if especially you apply with all the documents, this is very important that we don't have to follow up several times to ask for different kind of documents. If that's the case, if you're able to submit everything, we're able to review it quickly. We send you then very quickly also the different aptitude tests. If you do those quickly as well, you can receive within 2 weeks already an interview date. Now, of course, the longer you take to send us the required documents to finish all your assessments, of course, this will push back a little bit the final interview deadline.
In a similar way, someone asking if for the February 27 intake, they could already go ahead with the application, and when the interview would be, I would move on to what you just said, is that the deadline is a final deadline, and the earlier the better, and that everything depends on when you send your documents. So if you send your documents now, the interview could then be scheduled rather quickly.
Exactly. So for For February 27, yes, you can apply, and I would recommend applying relatively soon if you can, so you're among the early birds, and you can do a little bit your application with less stress and a little bit more comfortably.
So there's someone wanting to double check that the required documents are the essay, the grades, and the English certificates.
So anyway, when you start your application, you will have a list of documents. So you will have to upload certain documents, and it will validate them when you upload them. So you will know what to upload basically, and you don't have to do it all at once. Until you click submit, you can basically upload all kind of documents. And then, as we mentioned before, yes, the essay, you will have your passport, your transcripts, your diploma. What else? Any other documents to support your application. If you want, you can add recommendation letters. Then, of course, your English test, as mentioned before. And then a little bit depends also on your personal situation. Do you have a permit that you want to upload? Anything really. But the main ones are really the transcripts, the passport, the essay, and the English if you need one. And again, if there's anything missing, your admission officer will let you know, but it's pretty straightforward and well explained throughout the process.
Yes, there's a question about the Lausanne and PASUK admission process.
So PASUK and Lausanne are two separate processes, so they're handled by different admissions. So it's not the same person handling PASUK and Lausanne. You can open two applications, one for PASUK and one for Lausanne, but I would recommend choosing either one to avoid confusion. Let's say, for example, in the end, you're not eligible for EHL. You can still apply to PASUK. PASUK has different requirements than EHL because PASUK offers a different path, which is the HF diploma, which then would also lead to EHL later on. You can join EHL in the final year and finish also with the Bachelor of Science. But again, this I would suggest also discussing with your recruitment advisor or admission officer so they can really orient you really where it's best according to your grades, according to your school and your overall English level.
We have a few questions about the first year of the course, which I would love to a little bit share the insights from when I was in the first year. So AP, Année Préparatoire, the first year of the bachelor program, is quite a unique structure where you have different workshops that change on a weekly or every 2 weeks, and that cover a lot of different aspects from operations, I would say, from the kitchen to service, front office, and also some theoretical classes like math or F&B management. So really a really nice and healthy mix. Then another question, if it's possible to stay 2 years in Lausanne and 2 years in Singapore, how is that split made with the Singapore campus?
So the Singapore campus is 1 semester exchange. So this again depends a little bit on your individual performance also at EHL. So you have to apply for a semester exchange. You can also do your internship in Singapore. So this you will see while you're at EHL. You also have other places than Singapore where you can do exchange semesters, but those are a little bit more specific. So this you will see once you're at EHL, all the different opportunities you have.
Perfect. We also have another question, just again, if they apply before graduation, is it full acceptance or conditional acceptance?
It will be so if you apply if you get accepted into the school before you've graduated, yes, you will receive a conditional offer. So for example, let's say I'm in the IB curriculum and I've been accepted to EHL. I will receive a letter that would say you are accepted into EHL in September. Under the condition that you obtain your IB diploma with the 28 out of 42 points. Or depending on if you need an English level or if it's another diploma, of course. But we will give you, yes, a conditional offer, and you can, let's say, reserve your seat, already make the first payment, so that you're sure to have a space saved, of course, as long as you fulfill the condition.
Perfect. Do you consider recommendation letter in the admission process?
We do, but let's say it's not the main the main document we look at. We have our own evaluations. Then, if you have one letter of recommendation, that supports your application, you can always add it. But let's say it's not an essential document, or it's not something we look at essentially for the whole application. So it's an extra, it's a plus, it's a bonus. But if you don't have letter of recommendations, it won't penalize you, it won't change anything. So it's just a bonus if you have one, basically.
There's also just maybe re-going over the online Q&A and the online test, what exactly it is, and if there's a way to prepare for it.
So no, there's no specific way to prepare for the aptitude test. This is basically to evaluate your current level. It's a mixture of logic, numerical, and interpersonal skill questions. Again, let's say you don't perform well on that test. This will not mean you're not accepted at EHL. It just gives us an overall idea of where your strength lay and maybe where you need to work on a little bit. It's just for us in the admissions, to have an extra, let's say, an extra evaluation next to your grades, that may confirm your skills, or but don't be scared. Really, it's not a pass or fail situation where you would be accepted or not if you fail. Not at all.
A bit of a question of what we would recommend high school students focus on for applying to EHL, and if there's specific work experiences they should focus on, or if any type of work experience is all right.
This is really personal in the sense that, the priority should be your exams. So if you have then extra time, let's say you finish in June and you apply in February, and you have this extra time there, I would recommend, if you can, to gain a little bit of work experience. You can, of course, hospitality is the most interesting in that sense. If you can get a little bit of work experience, I don't know, in a restaurant or in a hotel, that's great for you and your CV, because, as you know, once you're at EHL, you will have to look for an internship, you will have to present your CV. And it's always an advantage to have already an experience there. And it also shows that you've done something before starting EHL. But then again, if you finish in June and you apply for September, you may not have the time to really gain any experience, and that's totally fine. What you shouldn't do is try to do everything at the same time and fail your exams. That's not the point. You really should focus on where it will basically help you in your application, which is the grades overall. And then, let's say, if you need to improve your English level, you can also use some time to, I don't know, go to the UK and learn a bit more English. This is also considered an experience, even if it's not a work experience. So that's a little bit it.
Maybe one last question about if you adapt the admission process to students with learning disabilities.
Yes, of course. You have to submit in your application a document. It has to be signed by a professional, medical professional, very important. Um, Basically, a certificate that attests that, I don't know, you have dyslexia or something where you need some extra help. This we do accept and we do try to accommodate.
Perfect.
All right. I think that's it. It's almost 7, so we won't be taking any more questions. Again, thank you so much for joining, and so sorry for the little hiccups we had. I hope you could still get quite a lot from this session. And if not, of course, you should always apply. You should talk to recruitment advisors who will be able to answer all of your questions. Everything is also on our website, everything we mentioned. So please visit the website, have a look, browse around. Most questions are there. And then you have also social media where we share a lot of information as well. So you have the Instagram, the TikTok, you have plenty of resources where there are also a lot of things explained regarding the admissions.
Awesome. Perfect.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
And have a lovely evening and long weekend if you're in Switzerland.